I originally wanted to be a special effects makeup artist. I actually created a makeup company called Gore-tastic. I would find that the people that I was putting in makeup couldn't act the way the monster that I wanted them to be. So I started up on myself. Opportunity presents itself in the weirdest places and situations. As a director, if you learning how to talk to actors is crucial in our business. I mean, I love it when actors take a script and flip it and change it to something that I didn't never expect. Don't try to come into this being a mocap actor. There's no such thing. Acting is acting. It's a gift that we get to work in an industry that is paying us to be a zombie.
Hello and welcome to the Actors Volume. I'm Matthew Brzezina.
And I'm Jeff Berg.
Together, we sit down with our friends, colleagues, and mentors to ask them about their journeys, their challenges, and the standards that they set for success within the mocap industry. I approach these interviews from a production perspective.
And I bring an actor's perspective to these conversations. Now today, we are here at Rouge Mocap's Volume to introduce our next guest, Richard Dorton.
This is a very special episode for me. Richard is somebody who's made an impact on the mocap industry in countless ways.
What stood out to me from our conversation with Richard was his relentless enthusiasm and dedication to storytelling, regardless of the role he played, whether it was performing as a zombie or directing talent behind the scenes. His insight into how opportunities can present themselves in the most unexpected ways was a reminder of how crucial it is to remain open, prepared, and eager to learn in this industry.
In this episode, we explore how Richard's technical understanding of mocap has helped him as an actor, his iconic tips and tricks for playing non-human characters, and the unique opportunities that performing in motion capture offers. And this is not just a great episode for actors, it's an especially great episode for anyone interested in video games, because Richard brings the same enthusiasm here as he does when he teaches his classes at the mocap vaults.
So enjoy our discussion with the legendary Richard Dorton. And if you've learned something by the end of this episode, please be sure to like, subscribe, and share Richard's story with a friend.
So Richard, I'm so happy to finally have you here. This is a very special interview because Jeff, you guys haven't actually met yet, but it's exciting for me because Richard is a dear friend and is the person who introduced me to mocap. And, you know, Jeff and I have worked on sets numerous times for many months and we just became really good pals. So I'm really excited for you two to officially meet.
Thank you. Thank you for even considering me. I mean, it's so crazy. I honestly, every day I work in the volume or around mocap, I always say, I can't believe this is a job, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. To be able to do this and have as long of a career in it that I have, it's an honor, and I don't take it lightly at all. And it's been pretty fun. And frustrating, you know.
Yeah.
A lot of I like to say for every game I've worked on, there's a plus and a minus story, you know. So it's really interesting to navigate this world and to be in it as long as I have, and to see it changing constantly.
Well, on that note, Richard, part of the big reason, many of the big reasons why I wanted to interview you is because, as you mentioned, you've been doing this for so long, and it's an industry that evolves very quickly as well. So you've seen a lot of it change, especially from an actor's perspective. So just as a little bit of context and to lay the scene, how long have you been in mocap? And because you've already touched on a big thing that Jeff and I really like to dig into, which is what led you into the world of mocap. And I'm not necessarily talking about your first audition, but more so like your skill set that led you into this world. What was it? Or, you know, because I know you're a stunt performer, I know you're a dancer as well, and you have a lot of these different things. And how long have you been doing this? And B, how did you kind of transition into it?
This June will be my 23rd year doing motion capture. So
wow,
that's pretty awesome. And I moved to LA in 2000. So ever since I've been here, I moved to LA to be a stuntman. My training was Washington, D.C. I did a lot of D.C. theater, Shakespeare trained, a lot of theater, a lot of dance movement background. And when I came out here, I really wanted to do stunts because I was stunt coordinating for America's Most Wanted, which was based in Washington, D.C. reenactments of crimes and things like that. A lot of car chases and how to do car stunts and slides and things like that. And then, that led me to want to work on bigger films doing stunts. And so here I got a stunt agent, and I was like, oh, good, I'm going to go. My first audition was to mocap House of Moves motion capture studio, and they had just done, Titanic. All the people falling off the boats was all motion. So,
oh wow, I didn't realize they had mocap going in that film.
But at that time, you could only capture one person at a time. So for me, I was in the right place at the right time with the right skills. That's how it all started. I was just lucky enough, agent that got me out to this place to audition for Scooby-Doo, to play Shaggy and all these villains. But I thought I was going to be meeting all these new stunt people and kind of work my way into the stunt career, here in LA. And the game, here I am working on my first video game, playing 30 to 50 characters, all the villains and Shaggy in the game. And it just kind of right place, right time. House of Moves saw my skills and basically said, this guy can do anything. And they're the ones who gave me the nickname Mocap Man. I always say you can't give yourself a nickname. Somebody has to bestow it upon you.
I was going to ask you that.
they started calling me the Mocap Man when they would pitch to their clients. They would say, we've got this guy who can do anything. That just kind of opened the door for me. The second game I worked on, I believe, was Rogue Squadron 2, Star Wars. So the producer and director of that, animation director at that game, he saw my Scooby-Doo mocap stuff, and he said, oh, if this guy can play all those characters, he can do Darth Vader. And that kind of great to hear that story from him, that I got chosen off of my skill, one of the first people to play Darth Vader in a video game. And you start hitting those characters, and then you get known for, oh, he did this, he did that. I played Wolverine, I played, it just kind of kept growing. So purely luck. I think, I had the skills. Sure, I was trained. I know my body. I know how to move. I was an athlete. I played, volleyball. I played soccer. I'm dancing, I'm choreographing, all of that stuff. I was just in the right place at the right time. So that's how it worked out for me. Other people, you get an audition, you get in, and you start building your career. I ended up losing the opportunity to do a lot of big stunts in movies because I was so busy in games.
Wow.
But,
yeah. I can relate.
Yeah, but you learn that it's a lot easier to fall on pads than it is to get road rash, falling out of a car on asphalt. And I kind of like that too. And that led to stunt coordinating because I had come from America's Most Wanted. I knew what it took. And then I'm like, oh, we can do this safely. We don't have to, pads aren't being seen, marker, stuff like that.
Yeah.
It was a good fit for me. Also, like coming from theater, having sword background and knowing that I could make up an incredible combination or series of stunts, and it could be done safely, and then we could jump onto the next thing. I've seen stunt guys fall out of a car and then that's it. Throw them to the hospital and send in the next one.
I do want to dig in because I do want to dig into the discussion of skill sets and preparation for like this type of work. But before I dig into that, I do want to go a little bit deeper into your background because you're touching into areas that I'm not familiar with. Specifically, one thing I'm curious about is you said you're from the DC area, and that's where you got your start as a stuntman. And the thing that sticks out to me about that is like and I don't know, like there's a little bit nowadays, but especially back then, I can't imagine there was a huge like film industry or TV industry. And also back before 2000, the technology and how you find jobs and auditions has changed a lot. So back in those days, did you always want to be an actor? And is that what led you into finding out how to break through into the Washington, D.C. circuit? Or did you also come across that in a different way? And what were the challenges that you overcame being in a place that doesn't really have that industry and being like, I want to do this?
Different life circumstances delivers things to you when you least expect it. I was a manager of a costume store. So at a costume store, We sold dancewear. We sold dance shoes. We sold makeup. I originally wanted to be a visual effects or a special effects makeup artist. That's really what I wanted to do. I wanted to do makeup. So whenever a movie came to town, they would come into my store to buy makeup, makeup artists. And I actually created a makeup company called Gore-tastic, I've always been a horror fan. And so I was like, can we do more blood and stuff like that? And when I was training to be a makeup artist and learn how to do makeup skills, I would find that the people that I was putting in makeup couldn't act the way the monster that I wanted them to be. So I started putting it on myself. And then I mean that's one reason I went into what I do. I think because of that, doing musical theater. I only decided to do theater in high school my senior year because I was a big fan of my student president. This guy was on my soccer team. I thought he was the coolest guy in the world, and I wanted to be like him. I was a volleyball star, but I had a late puberty. I grew 10 inches my senior year. So I went from this 5-foot guy to this 5'10" guy that had an incredible vertical jump. I ended up playing high-level volleyball, men's AA when I was in high school. I could dunk a volleyball at 5 feet. So I add this 10 inches to it. I just dominated the sport. I was all county, all state. And I just wanted to be Devin Arkin, the coolest guy in school. He did the musical Bye Bye Birdie, and he was Birdie, and I just thought he was so cool. So I said, if he could be in that, I'll try out. I was in the chorus, somebody in the background, just like an extra. So graduation came. I didn't know what I was going to do. I thought I was going to get a volleyball scholarship. And at the very last minute, two of my friends, literally the day before junior college was supposed to start, they said, just sign up, take anything. You can't just not go to school. So I wasn't ready, didn't know what I was going to do. So I signed up. I'm like the only elective class I could think of. I just signed up for a theater class. So starting at 18, I went into a theater class, and I guess that kind of really pushed me to see if that's what I was going to study. And it was really tough because being mixed Asian American, Vietnamese American, that was really hard because I found, I've been dealing with racism my whole life. And my theater teacher kept concentrating on one guy, the blonde, blue-haired, beautiful actor. And I, being the person that I am, raised my hand and said, are you going to work with him the whole class, or are any of us going to get a chance?
Nice.
And she said, get your ass up here. Let's see what you can do. And so I jumped into a monologue or something like that. And I was always pushing the establishment, and for that class, I was forced to audition for a musical, Oklahoma. And I thought it was a good character actor. I couldn't dance. I couldn't sing. I sang Happy Birthday for my audition. I hadn't sung in front of anybody else before. And I wasn't dance trained or anything. So my theater teacher and director, music director, they said to us, if you have any questions about casting, don't be afraid to ask us. So the cast list went up. I found out, I thought I was going to play Allie Hackham in Oklahoma. It's the only ethnic role in the whole musical, right? So I'm like the only ethnic person that auditioned. I got this. It's a good character role. And they cast another guy, and I was on the call sheet. It said, Richard Dorton, Sam the banjo player. So I was an extra. I was another background character. And so I got in the elevator with the two directors, and I said, you said we could ask any questions. I want to know why I didn't get this role. And he said, they stopped the elevator. And the director goes, granted, you had a really good audition. Your acting was really good. You're funny. Because I ended up auditioning for like Old Man Carnes too, playing an old guy. And he goes, you can't dance. You can't sing. We thought we would put you in this musical so you could learn something. And then they taught me, take the note and say thank you. And from that musical, I learned to do ballet, jazz, tap. And I took the note and just pushed my ass to be as best as I possibly could. From that was my first musical. My second musical, I became lead dancer. I just worked my ass off. So just trying to find opportunity, working at the costumes.
Yeah.
DC at that time in the late 80s was used as background for a lot of movies. So I would be extras in movies. I mean, there are some movies that I would point out to you and I'd be like, there I am in the background walking. I did whatever I could to be in the industry. It was such a small market. I did a lot of industrial film, IRS films, which was great because they needed, I'd play a student or a waiter talking about tax forms and stuff like corporate kind of work. But to me, it didn't matter. I just wanted to work in the industry. So doing makeup, doing costumes, doing car coordinating, whatever it took. That's the way I looked at it. I'm going to learn from this. And then smaller projects popped in. And then when America's Most Wanted happened for me, I was just on a roll. 10 episodes, like boom, 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 coordinating. Because I did a short film. I was makeup artist on a short film. The director's friend came to watch the day we were shooting, and the director said, "We need somebody to go over the handlebars on this bicycle and for the double." And I said, "I'll do it." And jumped on his bike, went over. And the America's Most Wanted guy said, "That was awesome. Would you consider coming and maybe stunt coordinating for us for some episodes?" Right place, right time. So that just pushed me into, I guess I had no choice but to go into performing after that. But
makes sense.
Know what I wanted to do. And but being in the right place at the right time and also having the opportunity. My costume store was the only store selling makeup. So I met all the makeup artists. I'd get on set, just try to, I didn't care.
On that note, you mentioned something that I absolutely loved, which you mentioned that in that theater production that you learned a ton of skills from. You were initially trying to get a role and they stuck you in as an extra. And as you mentioned, it kind of irked you the wrong way at first, but you gained all of these benefits and, you said, okay, this is a place or the opportunity I'm given. It's not close to what I want, but I'm going to take it. So not everyone does that. And then additionally, when people do it, not everyone really sticks with it. Like I can speak on a personal example because shortly after I started learning how to act for mocap with you, I was then given an opportunity to learn the tech side and I took it and the ball is still rolling. But I have learned a tremendous amount of stuff that has even come back to help me as an actor. So my question is, looking back at that moment and how that sort of mentality has helped you throughout the rest of your life, I guess, what do you see the benefit of, or like why would you argue that this is something worth doing in your perspective to somebody who may not be willing to take a job outside of the industry that they want to pursue, or somebody who's not willing to take a chance at taking a lower position to hopefully get to a higher position? And then furthermore, in those moments, I'm sure that you've had times where you've questioned if it's worth continuing this, if it's worth pursuing on. And in those tough moments, what has been the deciding factor and helped you decide to keep moving in the direction for a payoff?
Opportunity presents itself in the weirdest places and situations. You may not think somebody is, we never know who's watching us and what position they're in. And like a producer who was on that set that day saw me do this and approached me. So you never know. And if you go in with the attitude of, I'll try anything, I'm willing to do anything, I'm willing to PA, then that opportunity can present itself in the weirdest ways. I did a student film at USC as a stunt coordinator because I was a stunt coordinator on a horror movie. The first AC was in USC. He had to do his thesis project. He came up to me and said, "I've loved all the stuff you've been doing on this film. Would you mind stunt coordinating my project? I have $100." And I was like, "Sure, I'll do it for you." And then I went and did his film, and he said to me, and there was a lot of stunts in it for me to coordinate. I did it because I liked the kid, right? And he said, when I become a director, you're gonna stunt coordinate my first feature film. You get those stories all the time, and then. Sure enough, he got his first feature and he called me and he goes, "Richard, I got my film. I want you to be my stunt coordinator." So then all of a sudden I got the SAG payoff, right? I got the real job. So I think opportunity presents itself in the weirdest places. You don't know where it's why I teach, don't be a dick. You
Yeah. Yes.
never know who you're going to run across. All of a sudden, this producer can be the next big film producer. This actor can like jump to the other side of tech, and then all of a sudden you go, oh, I remember working with this guy. He's really good. You don't know where the opportunity is going to come from, and so that to me is that drives me. And who wants to have the reputation of somebody that everybody hates, or like doesn't want to work with, or you bring that kind of energy to your environment? That's a lot of suffering. So I'm open to trying things and to listening. And I mean, yeah, sometimes you walk into a shitstorm, and can you navigate that? What is the best thing that you can get out of it? Because I had a really bad experience on a game, and I thought I was going to quit. I thought I was going to just quit the whole industry, because I jumped from performing to producing, and I saw how hard it was. And when you're responsible for answering certain questions, and you're trying to do everything safely, and you're trying to protect your people, and now you have a company that has to deal with California labor laws and all kinds of stuff like that. Your responsibility is huge, and I wanted to make sure my animators were protected and things like that. And I had such a horrific experience on a AAA title that I thought I would walk away. I was like, I can't believe. I said the money that I was going to make on this project was going to be spent on therapy alone, just to get back to being human again. I had a long ass drive from Pasadena to Marina del Rey every day, and that I was not happy. I would walk into that studio at 9 a.m. upset and sad, and then be there all day long, and then go home and do it every day again. It was horrible. And I eventually pulled out of the project, and I said, this project is going to be a giant success, but the people it takes down with it will be horrible. And I was right. I got out at the right time, and all the stories I heard about it during and afterwards, it was true.
And this was when you were a producer?
Yeah. And I was a performer in it too. So I walked away. I wanted to be, actor, producer. I thought, because everybody knew me in the mocap world, and I thought I could handle both. And I learned it was a really, really tough job.
Since you said that, almost brought you to the point of, hanging up your mocap cap. What kept you going? Like, what was the sort of decision? Like, I guess what were you weighing, and what was the ultimate factor of being like, you know what, it's still worth doing. I still love this. There's still a lot that I can give to it.
The opportunity for another job. Even though I was working on this, nobody, we're under such crazy NDAs. Nobody knows what you're working on. Nobody knew the pain that I was going through on this one project. But then somebody offered me a role in another game. And oh my God, this is redemption, for your own self. Nobody knows what's going on that side, but you're like, oh, so now I get to be creative again. I think that was it for me. I got for me, it felt like a second chance. So I didn't let that one project completely destroy me. It destroyed me as a producer, and it also made me take into account to not have partnerships with other people anymore. It raised a lot of trust issues for me. Okay? But the opportunity to, if I came back to you and I said, this job sucks, but guess what? I want you to play Wolverine. What are you going to do? You're going to be like, yes, okay. Yeah. This is going to save me, or this is going to, revitalize that part of the creativity that I let this industry. Every business is like that, Especially Hollywood. We have this love-hate relationship with the entertainment industry. When you're not in it, we love it. We watch every movie, we watch every TV show, we play every game, and we love it, and we think it's so glamorous. Then when you're on this side of it, you're like, it is exhausting. It's cutthroat. It's, brutal. But then you also run into some incredible people that, I work with the same people all the time because they trust me, and they that's life, right? You either move on from certain studios and people, or you have a long relationship with some people, and that they know, oh my God, I can trust Richard Dorton. Let's just get him in here. that's pretty cool.
I love that you just said about they trust you, because I kept hearing you say right place at the right time, right place at the right time. And I appreciate that you think that you're in the right place at the right time. That's like a great quality that I'm learning about you. Because in my experience, I feel like right place at the right time comes from preparation meeting opportunity. And it's something that Matt was hinting at before. And I just wanted to unpack your right place at the right time and see where that really comes from. Like, I love the idea that you think that you have been lucky, and like I'm sure there's you've put yourself in situations where you're willing to say yes. You're a guy that people trust. You're likable. You're funny. All of these things. But like, what's that little thing that nobody else has that Richard Dorton has that separates you from the pack? Like, we don't, we joked about the Scooby-Doo story. There was how many actors there? Like 30 actors all lined up. What was it that like you brought to the table that those people didn't? Because I'm sure there's great actors everywhere, and there's people that have more experience than you, and there's people that have like more training and this and that. But like, what's that like Richard Dorton thing that people are like, I can't put my finger on it, but it's just like, it's him that I want, and I don't know why. Is it your preparation? Is it your imagination? What is it for you that separates you from the pack?
Enthusiasm. I love what I do. I mean, that's it. If you're not going to hire me, then I'm not right for the job. There's another job for me. I think I take that kind of approach to now. Like, when you become desperate, it shows.
Oh yeah, it smells.
Yeah, you smell it on people.
Yeah.
I thought it was fun to audition as Shaggy. I that's it. You're going in, you're auditioning for something that you grew up with culturally, that you're like, oh, this would be pretty cool. But the audition was act like a gorilla, act like Frankenstein, run into a wall, fall down, dance. I thought it was hysterical. So I came in prepared, and just to have fun. Also, because of my ethnic background, I didn't assume I was going to get the job. I didn't think that they're going to hire some white dude, but I go in going, I'm just going to have fun with this. Hopefully somebody else will see me, or maybe I'll make a new stunt friend that can introduce me to a high level stunt coordinator. Like, you go in with that attitude of positivity, then anything can happen. I came in prepared. I shared information with everybody because I was just trying to meet people in the community, and everyone, when they said, who wants to go first? Everyone went, that guy does. And at that point, we all auditioned in front of each other. So they all copied me. I set the first level of the audition. So everybody else had to copy me. And so they went, why did we want to copy her? Let's get the guy who made it up. That was right place, right time. I really believe it. When you don't care, when you audition for something and you book that job, you're like, there's no pressure, right? When you put so much pressure on yourself and you want something so desperately, you're right. It smells. You can tell. And so I try to approach things with that. I recently did an audition where I was so exhausted. Timing was hard. And I set my camera up and I did it, and I didn't care. I really didn't care if I got the job or not. And I get the call. Yeah, you're awesome. We love it. And I'm like, okay, maybe I should audition like that all the time. I like to take the pressure off of myself, because we do that to, I guess as I gotten older, you learn things, self-care, self-love, all of that stuff. And also, if I'm not right for the job, I'm not right for the job. Got to move on. And being a teacher now, being a mentor and an instructor, I have to practice what I preach. And so that has been really, really good for me. It's made me a better actor, being a teacher, because if I'm like, I need you to do this, and if I don't do it, then I'm lying to my students. And so I can't do that. It's not the way I operate. Pretty much. That's part of my training too. You always constantly have to keep training. I mean, don't you want to hang out with the people that you like and have that kind of positive energy, and it rubs off on you, and we feed off of each other all the time. It's empathy. I think I am a person that has a lot of empathy, maybe too in a lot of situations, but that's Richard Dorton.
Yep. There's a couple things that you pointed out, which was you've seen the audition from two perspectives. You're an actor, so you've done a lot of auditions, and then you've also done a lot of casting as a casting director. So what I think you already answered from an actor's perspective, like your best advice to an audition is have fun with it and don't necessarily care, and then also move on if you don't get it. If there's anything you want to add to that, please do. But what's also your advice for like being a casting director when you see actor after actor coming in? What advice do you have for actors in the audition process as a casting director? Like, what do you look for? What makes somebody stand out? What makes you be like, they have the job?
You know, right now, because of what happened with COVID and having to do self-tapes versus in-person auditions has changed the dynamic of things. I tell people, I looks like we're getting visited by Mr. Jones.
Oh, special guest.
Yes.
This is my boy.
That sums up 2020 right there, right? With a cat walking through the background.
What I like to say is that, like with self-tapes, the job is the audition. If you have to do a self-tape 20 times, right? That's the job. Getting the job is the icing on the cake, because what is the first thing the client says to you when you walk in, when you get the job? They say, loved what you did in the audition, right?
Yeah.
So that's your job. Your job is to audition. So if you have to shoot it 20 times, then shoot it 20 times. Make your audition really good. That's for self-tapes and things. And also, you know, union versus non-union, that's a whole other discussion. But with the self-tapes, we were making you the director. We were making you the lighting guy, the cinematographer, everything. So that's a lot of pressure to put on an actor. But that was the reality of what we had to do. So you have to, that's your job. If you want to be an actor, that's what you have to do. In-person auditions, you can tell when somebody walks into the room and lights up the room for you and are willing to try anything, and they're hungry for direction, you know. And if I say, try this and try that, and if you're not listening and they don't do it, you can tell when that happens. You can also tell when I've had actors say, my character would never do that. And I would say, how do you know? Because you haven't tried. Because you find the gaming world is so, I love it when directors say to me, okay, let's try another one, whatever you want. We are, as actors, are part of the creative process, right? And they're giving us a chance to put in our own take on it. And it may not be right, but sometimes it's something they didn't see. And they're like, oh, I like that. So you have to be open. I always say the ego has to be left at the door when you walk in, and then you can pick it up on the way out. But you have our job. We are puppets in a sense. We have to be able, from directors, take direction. We also had to teach animators how to direct us, right? Our industry is still young, where we don't have Steven Spielberg coming in and directing a video game, right? So we're looking for people that can collaborate with us, and we're also looking, if you're smart, you're looking to be a part of that creative process. I love it when actors take a script and flip it and change it to something that I didn't never expect. Because you can go, oh, actually that works as a comedy. I didn't really look at it as a comedy, but one person can't make a whole game. It takes thousands of people to make a game. The creative process, and it's great as a director, or you can say, nope, that's not what I was thinking. But at least they're craving that kind of direction. It's such an creative, collaborative art form with what we're doing. And it's still young. I mean, I've been doing it for 20 years. That's still young. That's still young. And it's still growing and still evolving. And the technology is making it easier for some of this stuff. But storytelling is storytelling. Bad script is still a bad script.
Yeah.
You know? It's a gift that we get to work in an industry that is paying us to be a zombie, right?
Right.
I like to be simple in my directions and stuff. I don't like to overcomplicate stuff. I think that's what I teach, because we can get into our heads so easily as actors. And if I can say, I don't need you to get all, I say this all the time, but I don't need you to get all Stanislavski on me on this scene. You're a bouncer, okay? Just be a rhino right now and not let them in. It's that simple for me. I like to simplify it because then we can move fast, we can work fast, and it's creative and fun. And like we respond, some people just respond to that basic, that way you're not giving line readings, you're not like, you're letting them create that process. And then as a director, if you learning how to talk to actors is crucial in our business. I mean, I remember when I first started, the direction was, can you do that again, only better? It's a dream. We're in a dream job. We're in a dream job. But it's the pressures that come from above, from due dates, time limits, all of this kind of stuff. It's kind of crazy that the pressure that's put on people, that game developers and things like that. But also the technology has gone from where we can do a trailer, which took 3 to 6 months, right? Can crank one out in 6 weeks now when you have the Unreal Engine. Yeah. You have a team of animators that are really, really good. I just worked on a trailer a month ago, 2 months, maybe 2 months ago, and they just told me it's going to drop this month. And I'm like, wow. What? I was expecting the end of the year.
Because I do have questions particularly or specifically focused on like how the industry has changed in your time. For examples like that, like turnaround times have gotten a lot faster. But before I dig into that, I think of a segue that connects the two discussions is you mentioned that like essentially professionalism is a big thing that you look for in auditions that make you realize that this person is somebody I can work with and have a creative collaboration with. You also teach the mocap vaults. And with that, there is a lot of newcomers to the industry, to the process and everything that you're meeting for the very first time and seeing them interact in this space and this industry for the first time. Do you also have that same sort of mentality that you apply to seeing new people being introduced to a new thing of what makes them stand out and what makes you recognize like this person is somebody who's probably going to progress in this industry? Is it professionalism or is it not to that degree because obviously they're not auditioning for a job or anything? And is it more so just looking for excitement or is it some other variable that you see all these new people? Because your classes can get up to like 30 people in a class. So you see a lot of new people experiencing something for the new time. And just like what sticks out to you when seeing people in these classes being like, that's somebody to keep an eye on? It's different for every class. Every class I've had since I've been doing this has been a different experience. Every single class, because sometimes it's skill. Somebody's skill set is amazing, and I will go, oh, I got to use that person for in-game. I know their skill set. Or somebody will completely surprise everybody else. The beauty about what we do, it doesn't matter what you look like, right? Mm-hmm. What you look like, as long as you're skilled. I always tell people, if you're a good actor, you're eventually going to end up in the suit. And I can prove that over and over again because I always say one of my favorite examples is there was an actress. She was a middle-aged mom. She was out of shape. She was she couldn't do in-game for her life, right? But she was a brilliant actress, and she was just good on her skills. So skill set wise, she went and blew everybody away in this one scene, and she got the job. But she was such a great actress, and that's all I wanted. I just wanted the best actress for the job, and she blew everybody away. So I don't judge. I mean, look at me. If I'm a mixed Asian American guy who started in this industry, and I've played every race, creed, color, size, male, female, dragon, ogre, zombie, it doesn't matter. So that's the way I judge people. I judge them all for their skill. I judge if I want to work with them. If they're not a dick, if they're, if they're creative. So every class is different for me. Every actor is different. You have to look at it. And like, even in my classes, if I know a stunt guy is coming in, I'm not going to give him the scene where he gets to do the stunts. I'm going to give him the scene where he has to act. I want to make sure that my job as a teacher, as a mentor, is to well-round you. The other thing, though, that is really interesting in this industry is people that come to the mocap vaults should already be actors, right?
I am not teaching an beginning to acting class. You should be an actor who wants to enhance your skills, move on to this part of the industry, because I need good actors. I need good performers. So when I get a beginner, that throws the whole class off. You have skilled here, and then you have somebody who has never acted before, and it's hard, it's hard to get this person to this level without the training. So training is important. I have actors send me their resumes and headshots before the class, and I go through and I look at it and I go, oh, she only has 3 credits, so I might want to focus this scene on her, or I will go, oh, this one's got 20,000 credits. He's going to think he knows everything, so let me throw the curveball at him. So I try to I try to approach it in that way, to look for skills, to look for something that stands out. Some people have personality that can light up a room. Some people, the quiet ones, and you're watching them in class and you're going, they're not moving much, they're not saying much, and then you throw them in and they blow everybody away with the scene, and you're like, that's the guy I want to work with. It's so different. Every class, every actor is very, very different. I mean, I get voice actors who I will hear their voice and I'm like, oh my God, that is sweet. That is sugar right there. And then I go walk across the room for me and they're like, same arm, same leg. You're like, ah, can't use it for full performance, but I'll use your face and your voice. You start to discover this stuff about people. And then you have the people that come back and train. And I've had people come back and take the class over and over again because they think they can get some. Matt, you took info from all 3 different countries, right?
Yeah, I did. Well, it's because it was like a 2-month wait between your first class and your second one, and I'm like, I don't want to wait that long. So, but all the other countries had classes.
Different perspectives. Like I always say, take what I teach, take what works for you, and then throw the rest out, because we are trained very differently. Go take from Pascal, go take from somebody else, because you're going to get a different perspective. That's also like when I bring in guest instructors to my class, because I don't want it to be just for me. And also, we have so much more women taking classes now. I want to bring in a woman so that the girls can get a female perspective on this. From somebody like Tekla, who has worked in the industry, Michelle Lee, America Young. These are great friends of mine, and they have great advice and information that they're willing to pass on. They say to me all the time, I can't believe you're teaching this, because when you're a performer trying to teach, you're trying to teach. Basically, I'm teaching my competition to do what I do, but I'm in this position where I have enough credits. I have made my dreams come true in this industry. I've played incredible roles, and I have always been a teacher. I think when I was dancing, I choreographed. I started directing high school musicals when I got into college. I like directing kids. I always said, if I could direct kids, I can direct adults. And that's why I keep it basic, because you have to be very basic with kids. And so I've taken that approach in the way I teach too. I mean, I've been in classes too where I'm like, you're just overwhelming me with so much crap. Just tell me, like one of the exercises I do is, what do they teach you about playing drunk? Right? Pretend that you're not drunk so that you're being drunk, right? So that nobody knows that you're not drunk. And I'm like, what? No, drunk. That's stupid. What? I got to pretend that I'm not drunk, even though I got to be playing that I'm drunk. No, it's equilibrium, right? Mm-hmm. You throw your equilibrium off, I can be super drunk and not be moving all over the place. And if you can teach people to understand their body and understand equilibrium, then, I mean, you've seen that guy in your kitchen at a party, and he's just like, I'm pretty hammered. So I like to keep it simple and basic. And I think that when you do that, you have room to expand and try a variety of things, which is where I come from.
A big thing you focus on with your classes, and a big thing that you have a lot of great experience doing, and you do it very well, is playing, as you mentioned, like dragons, zombies, monsters, and sometimes non-humanoid, creatures. And also a lot of animals. So when you play something that is not humanoid, what are your tips on how to get into that character? because again, if obviously people might not have like an emotional connection or a past experience they can relate to, say, a gorilla or a dragon. So, but they obviously need to make that connection and they need to be present and be that gorilla or a dragon. So, what tips do you have, or what kind of pieces in your toolkit do you use to help you get into the zone and actually be those characters?
Well, we're working in a field of pure imagination. So there is no right or wrong. So you have to try. You have to try these things out. And then you figure out through process of elimination, okay, a dragon doesn't box, or whatever it is. It's like that. My character would never do that. Well, how do you know if you don't try? So I like to try. Also, resources nowadays that we have, if you're doing animal work, we have National Geographic, you have YouTube, you can do a ton of studying. This is what does an actor need to do? You need to be prepared. You have to do your homework. I tell people, you have to be a fanboy and a fangirl of this industry. If you don't know who Darth Vader is, there are 7 people beside you who do that will take the job from you. Right? Yeah. If you don't know what an orc is, if you don't know what Smaug is, you're going to lose the job to somebody who does. So we're in a gaming world. 95% of what we do is with guns. If you don't take a gun class, if you don't go to a firing range and shoot a gun, you're going to lose out to the guy who goes every week, and knows how to tactically move and all of this stuff. That's part of our skill set as an actor. This is part of our training. This is the stuff that you have to try and do. So you have to be a prepared actor. For non-humanoid creatures, I like to try, it's a physical thing. When I play zombies and creatures that are all twisted, look, I could hold my body in this position all day long. You have to be able to know your body and know how to get in there, how to release it, and how to go back to it for another take. This is yoga. This is body work. This is understanding your limitations. Would you go and enter a 5K race without ever running a day? So that's our job. So you've decided to be an actor. Well, these are the skills you need to do this. And I always tell these actors, because I watch them freak out when they know that there are stunts involved or things like that, and they're like, "Do I have to go take a stunt class now?" No, I will find you a stunt double. Just be the best actor that you can be. You don't have to do everything. Because I had a student. She was really struggling. She wanted to do mocap so bad, and then she saw all the stunts that were happening for in-game, and she went and started taking a martial arts class, and she started taking a wire work class, and she came back to me. She goes, "Richard, it hurts my body. I can't do this. I'm too old right now. I wish I would have started when I was 5 years old." And I went, "You don't have to be a stunt person. I want you to be a good actor. It's great that you took this class. Now you understand your body, and now you can say, not for me. I'll do cinematics only." But it's part of your skill set. The other thing is, do not lie to me on your resume.
Yes.
Oh, I do parkour. I'm going to go, let me see you flip off that wall. So it's skill set is part of it. You have to be prepared. That's your job. You would study acting, you go to acting class, right? But it's interesting to see how many people think they can just act without continuing their own studies.
And you brought up something that I really, really, really love, which you gave the example of the woman who tried taking stunt classes to build her skill sets and make herself more marketable in this industry, but she couldn't keep up with it because it was physically hurting her. And I'm really thrilled that you actually brought that up, because I can attest that, like, for example, in the mocap vaults classes, even in the very first introduction class, there are parkour people, there are firearms experts, there are circus performers, and all this stuff. And like me, throughout my whole pursuit of this industry, I've always kind of, because I came into acting very late, I've gone through a very unusual path of how to get through more technical than actual performance side of things that have furthered my performance career. And for example, my first mocap vaults class, I ran into that situation where I'm like, wow, there's a lot of people here who are really skilled at what they do and have a whole array of different things. And it was a little intimidating and daunting. And it was one of those things that made me realize, okay, now I need to step up my skill sets. Luckily, I knew that I loved like firearms training. I did previous stunt work and I studied martial arts. So I knew that I could focus on those, but I've also tried expanding my other skill sets. And what I'm getting at is, what advice do you have for those people who do want to pursue it and are like, okay, I got to start building up my skill set so I can be more prepared for when opportunity strikes? How do you have any advice on what they could focus on, or how they can find skill sets that actually suit them better than just doing what everybody else is doing?
We're all unique individuals. We all have our own thing that we excel at or whatever. And it's like, if you can't be a stunt person, don't try to be a stunt person. Be a good actor. I hired somebody for knitting. We needed somebody right? We needed an older character in a wheelchair knitting. And some woman had her knitting on her resume as a special skill, like, can do this, And so we brought her in to knit. She would have never done mocap ever before, but that was her thing. Like, you'll get picked for that one thing you do, not for everything you do. And also, I think nowadays, because when I started, you can only capture one person at a time. So I played everything, every role. That's right place, right time, right skills. Now we can put 15 people in the volume at the same time with a variety of skills, and not everybody has to do everything. Then you focus on what you're good at. If you're not a parkour person, then that job's not for you. It's that simple. I tell people, if you get one mocap a year, celebrate it. Be happy that you don't try to come into this being a mocap actor. There's no such thing. Acting is acting. You're an actor. If you get a mocap job, great. Now go do a short film. Now go do a feature film. Now go do theater. Be an actor. But if you try to make a career out of this, you're going to be very severely disappointed and hurt and bitter and angry. I mean, some of us who have been doing this forever, we were lucky that we've been able to sustain a career. We have a reputation. People know us. We're working with the same people over and over because they trust us and they know that we can get the job done. I cannot tell you how many trailers I have shot in one day where I've played multiple characters, because you only have one day to shoot it. And I like to show the Left 4 Dead 2 trailer in class. It shows like cinematics and in-game, and I've played 3 different characters and 27,000 different zombies. And it's all me, because I knew how to work efficiently and fast. Where originally they had hired 3 different actors to play 3 different characters, and then when that took the game a year over, and they're like, we just need to get it done fast. Just get Richard back in here. That's great. I am not a martial artist. Do you know how bad I want to be in Mortal Kombat? But I'm not a martial artist. So that job's not for me. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
You know, Matt, how much money, thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars that people pay for data, right?
Oh yeah. Yep.
I tell my students, you better be worth it. If I'm going to spend $100,000 on you in data, you better be worth it. Bother me. I'll pay your day rate.
Well, since you use the term data, and Jeff, I feel like you might be interested in hearing this too, because you're somebody who has strictly focused on the actor side of it. So, Jeff, you haven't gotten a lot of experience on the technical side. You've learned a lot from being on set, as you know, just being.
I feel like I do my work, and then this magic happens. And
exactly.
I'm like, I have no clue how it got from my work to that beautiful thing that happened on the game. It's incredible.
Yeah. And Richard, what I'm curious about, because I can attest to this as well, or at least I have my own perspective on it, because you just mentioned like all the technical stuff that goes behind the performance. Not you obviously don't necessarily need to know it, but do you find it helpful? Do you feel like it has helped you? Do you feel like it has helped your performances? Working on the technical side and understanding it.
I mean, the best friend an actor can have is an animator that loves to work with your data. And if you make the animator happy, if they can say, oh my God, bring that guy back. He knows exactly, he understands what we need, that he doesn't jumble up his body markers, that he understands to make the animation side work better. I think that's a plus. When I teach, we start in T-pose, end in T-pose, but this thing that I do of adding a breath before I start gives me a start and stop point. After I finish my move, I take this breath. So you know exactly where I start and stop. Other actors come in T-pose and they start acting before their hands have even left the T-pose, right?
I've seen that.
Where does it start? Where does it start? So when I worked on a Star Wars game, they said to me, we know, because after you leave the volume, the director sticks around and now has to make selects, right? And now he's there for another 2 hours at the studio trying to find his start and stop positions. They said they could scrub through my data and pick a start and stop like this. And that for them, they went, bring him back next time. He just saved me an hour at a time. He saved me another $45 in wasted data T-pose that I had to buy from the start to stop, you know? So that's what I try to teach too, is be friendly. If you understand the technical side, you understand what they need, they're going to come back and say, get that guy, because he knows what he's making my job easier. So that's part of things that we were never taught. I was never taught. I had to discover this, and through the teaching process, you know, like I always challenged myself I always wanted to be a one-take wonder. Let me see if I can do it in one take so I'm not burning my body out. If I know I have a shot at 200 moves and you don't go full out, full on first time, you're going to do it again. Nothing like sprinting through the volume 10 times. No, I'm like full out, full on first time, do it right. Understand what a loop is. Don't change your rhythm and timing, and don't pull up and like all of that stuff. So I've given away a ton of my secrets because I want the next generation to be as good as I was or better, you know? And I only, when I go back and I look at these jobs that I work on and why I say there's always a good story and a bad story is I've learned through that process. Oh my God. If I would on game 50, if I would have done, or on game 2, if I knew what I knew by game 50, I would have been really, really good.
No, I'm very glad that you touched on that. And since we're pushing our hour mark, I do have one big question that I want to ask Richard that I've kind of picked up on throughout this conversation. But beforehand, Jeff, do you have anything that you would like to ask?
I have just one little thing, Matt, that I'd love that has kind of been popping up that I've really appreciated from what Richard's been saying. First off, that last little part was just some mocap man gold that I think our listeners will just so highly appreciate. So thank you for sharing that. One of the things that I've really noticed with you is that word gratitude has come up, and like how lucky we are to do, you know, to play in this world and actually get paid for it. I mean, I think that's so incredible. What I really wanted to know though, is there something like when you were starting out, is there like, if you could go back and change one thing that would have like helped the trajectory of your career, is there even something, or do you feel like, you know what, the mistakes I made and the choices I made, I'm so happy to be in this present moment? Or if you could go back to your 20 or 30-year-old self and be like, hey, if you paid attention more at this, or if you made these phone calls, or if you took this class, is there anything at all for you that you would tell yourself, any missed opportunities or things that you think you would have been looking out for? Is there anything that comes to mind for you?
I wish I would have moved out to Los Angeles when I was younger. A lot. You know, a lot of people don't know this, but when I started mocap, my first mocap, I was 35. So like for all the older actors that are out there, I'm like, it could still happen for you. But I wish I would have started earlier. I don't know if I would have gone into mocap. I would have probably, I feel like the opportunity of being in Hollywood at that time, I would have pursued my acting career a little bit, probably more intensely, because I was a smaller market. You know, I was still working. I was a big giant theater fan. I loved doing live theater. This is like full circle, because what is VR now? VR is live theater in VR. You know, you have to have great improv skills to carry a scene and make it expand a scene or a scenario so that, you know, the viewer looks over here and they go over here and then they want to come back over here. So you have to, the scene isn't fully written. They're always like, stretch the scene out by another 30 seconds, add a little bit more dialogue here. So you see how much of a collaborator you are on a project like that. I wish I would have started younger, but I was working when I was younger. I took any job possible. If I was in LA and I could have discovered mocap in the, you know, in the 90s, in the late 90s, then that might have been something new. Let's live for the present day. It's hard to go back and talk to naive Richard Dorton, uh, he probably wouldn't have listened.
Yeah.
I've had a very lucky and fruitful career. I always tell people I made some dreams come true in this business. I'm not an awards person. I never have been, because I think you can't like the Academy Awards. You can't compare Robert De Niro to Al Pacino, Brad Pitt, to what they're all different things that they're working on. But I walked the red carpet at Grauman's Chinese Theater to see a movie that I did mocap in. My name was on the screen. As an actor, that is a dream come true. I got that moment, right? I played Darth Vader. I played Wolverine. I played Jason Bourne in video. I played Peter Venkman in the Ghostbusters. Like, these are incredible experiences that I've made those dreams come true. And then I go, okay, I'm okay. Like, I'm okay directing now. That's been my evolution. I'm okay stunt coordinating, ADing. I always say it's time for the younger generation to get punched in the face now instead of me. That's the evolution. When you're an actor at your age right now, and that's what you're focusing on, acting, it's hard to produce. It's hard to do technical. It's hard to direct. So focus on your acting. Be good at the craft. And then when you feel like you've hit that plateau or where you've got that satisfaction, then you can move on without bitterness. Like, I love directing. I love ADing. And those present opportunities that you don't expect. You have the mocap studio watching me going, oh, we have another project coming up. Maybe we should suggest him for the director. That's what I mean. Right place, right time. Just doing your job. Not somebody said to me, don't you teach your students set etiquette, and how to act on a mocap set? And I'm like, they're supposed to be professionals. They should know how to act on a mocap. They should know how to act on a set. But that's never taught. And then, because people are so desperate to be an actor, to get into something, and it's like, you have to understand and learn what goes on a set, and you don't approach the lead actor and ask for their phone number and email. But if you do your job right, somebody else is going to notice. That's going to lead to better opportunity or the next opportunity. And I guess that's just the way I've always lived my life in this industry, because it can burn you out and tear you up. And I want to be able to go home and be exhausted and go, that was one of the greatest jobs I've ever worked on.
Yeah.
Or I can't wait to tell people I worked on this, or I can't wait to reveal, guess who did that. That to me, that's so much more fun. And there are some great actors out there. I just worked with the guy who does body mocap for Marcus Phoenix. I was like, I love you. I love your work. I've been dying to meet you. I am so proud of other people that do this work. I can't be bitter about it. I can't be jealous of it, that he was right for that job. I watched him walk across the volume and I was like, that is Marcus Phoenix. That's the guy. That's what I want. That's what I wanted to see. You get the right job that's meant for you. So you take the positive attitude, something will happen. Matt, you're in the volume even on the technical side, and all of a sudden something happens and they go, Matt, can you jump in the suit? And you're like, yeah. I mean, it's pretty incredible. Or you work with somebody who you go, okay, I want to work with that person again. I will find a project for them. That's what it happens with me with some of my students. I see them, they're so talented, and I go, I just want to get in the volume with that person. I want to give them the opportunity. And being able to cast, being able to pull from my roster at the mocap vaults has been a dream. To share the volume with one of my students and to patch them in, has been a dream for me.
Actually, I think I have my patch.
Right. This little guy.
Yes, right?
Yeah.
To be able to slap that on your suit. I mean, this job I just worked, there were 3 mocap vault students on the job with me, and I patched one guy in on the shoot. He was like, I can't wait for my patch. That's all I could ask for.
I love how you specifically focused on like your dreams, not necessarily like trying to do something that everyone is set out to do or that people think is, cool, but finding the fact that you think it's cool and that it's something that you wanted. And my final question that I'm really curious because it's popped up a few times and I think it relates to this heavily. And please let me know if you're comfortable talking about this, but it feels like you have brought up in the span of your career over the years that your ethnicity has been a factor in your journey at a certain point. And I always find the conversation of diversity really important and fascinating because I grew up in a place that did not have much diversity at all. And I've gotten a big, like, just wake up call and introduction to diversity moving to LA. And I am curious on, as you've been chasing these dreams and accomplishing them, do you feel like mocap was an industry and a profession that the diversity, like your ethnicity, didn't really play as much of a factor as it would in other media type industries throughout the years that you've done this?
It was funny when I was in DC, I was too Asian in the DC market. When I was in LA, I'm not Asian enough. In the mocap world, I have not played a Vietnamese American character. I've played everything but. Okay. Can you tell what I look like? No. I was strictly hired for my talent. That's been the greatest gift of all. Like, when I was doing theater, you get judged, you're auditioning for roles that you fit into that are written specifically for ethnic. I think being one of the first mixed actors to do mocap helped open the door to other actors, for the studios, for the casting people to say, oh, the character is not looking like him, so it doesn't matter, right? That's where I think the game industry and the mocap industry broke the barriers that film and TV couldn't, because you're getting judged by what you look like. I wasn't judged by what I looked like. I was judged by my skill, and that is the greatest feeling ever as an actor. Doesn't what I look like, and that helped open the door to other, I think, to other ethnic and diverse actors, because we're not being judged by what we look like. Now we get into scanning for likeness. That's a whole other animal. But now that I've also jumped to the casting side, like when you're hiring 40 dancers for a commercial, what do? You mix and match, right? We want the rainbow for 40 dancers. And I was like, why can't we apply that to mocap? Why can't we apply that to acting in general, which is finally starting to happen? But for every role that I submit for mocap, when I'm now I get asked to cast for different studios and stuff, I try to submit one of everything. Like, if there's 5 characters I got to cast, I'm going to send you African American, white, Hispanic, Asian, and something else. So I'm going to 5 different actors I feel could play that role. Russian, whatever, like, I'm going to put 5 actors. But if you cast all 5 roles with all white people or all black people or all Asians, there's something wrong there. And a lot of times I don't think the studios or the gaming company, they don't mean to do it, because the response I get is, I never thought about that. And I say, but you have to now. And just let's mix and match, because I go, what did you think your BTS is going to look like? It's going to show diversity in your BTS, and that's going to make you look great. That's going to help you. It's going to help your company. It's going to make everybody, it's going to help the audience. It's going to help, younger generation see that you are a diverse company, right? So I have never submitted one person for a job and just been like, only hire that person. I'm going to give you a selection because I want you to start thinking about looking at it differently. It's the same thing with voiceover. Close your eyes. You hear a voice and you're like, I want that voice, right? So we should be able to play any role, any race, creed, color, animal, dragon, zombie, whatever. That's just the way the business is, and it is pure imagination. You have to remember that. But we also are in a place where certain ethnic roles are specifically written So cast them that way. I don't play a lot of women anymore. I don't play women because we have some great female actors that we want in those roles. Back in the day, when you can only fit one person in the suit and capture one person, who do you think was the hot can girl?
Go to Dorton.
No, I love hearing just how, from your perspective, how diversity has changed. I mean, there's still more questions I would love to dig into, but I think for this episode, I've asked all the big ones that I really dig and wanted to dig into. Do you have anything else that you would like to add, just maybe for people listening, whether it's still about the mocap industry or anything outside of the mocap industry? Like, is there anything that you're contemplating or a perspective that you've had change in your life recently that anybody listening, regardless of if they're an actor, if they're a crew member, whether they're pursuing mocap or not, that you just would like people to keep in mind or that you think is important to focus on?
The older that I have gotten, I have more perspective on things. I also feel that, this industry is tough and you're competing against thousands of people, right? And if you're young, you don't know how to handle that. And, you're eager and there's ageism in every job. There's ageism in this, there's physical limitations. But for me, it's also mental health. I think we are all wounded birds as actors. Come to this industry as a performer with a bunch of other issues and things. And I think you have to take care of your mental health. Acting is 95% rejection, right? You can send out 12 auditions and not book one. That's 12 rejections that you have to take into, and that can destroy your mental health. So I think you have to be able to shut this industry off a little bit, take care of yourself, regenerate and reorganize and reinvigorate yourself. And you chose a business that is 95% rejection. When you put that in your head and you accept that, then you're not going to beat yourself up all the time. So when you get that job, it's the greatest thing in the world. So say, I got a mocap job. Okay, then celebrate that and move on to something else. But if you sit here and think that you can be a mocap actor only, I have really sad news for you. It's so hard. Even for me, I'm still auditioning and you are competing against me. On the back and go, I've been doing this for a while and I still enjoy it. I don't go out of my way to be that hungry actor for this. Like I said, if I AD, I'm happy. If I direct, I'm happy because I'm still working in the industry. But if you've chosen this as a career and acting as a career, you have to take care of yourself mentally because you can beat yourself up. Do you know why you didn't get that job? Because you weren't tall enough, because your hair wasn't brown, because of whatever it is. And if you're obsessing over something like that, you can drive yourself crazy. That to me, mental health is really, because during the pandemic, I was so busy. Like everybody was going through their COVID breakdown. I was working because we could put one actor in a suit in a studio with one technician, and that was it. And so we were safe. But then I went back to my roots to playing every part.
Yeah.
So I was working when everybody was having their COVID freak out. And then I break, and then I had my COVID freak out. And it was scary. I had never dealt with anxiety before. I never had to worry about, and I was like, so this is what everybody went through. And it was scary. And I was having people call me constantly. Like I didn't teach online. I don't think you can teach mocap online, looking at a screen at 12 actors. That's why we checked in with our students. How are you feeling? How are you doing? It's okay. Hang on, study, read this book, try this, try that. I think that was a way to keep them connected and understand that it's going to get better. But I think if you as an actor, if you get your mental health in control, then your physical health will be okay. And then you can bounce back and you audition and let it go. Because when you do get that call, it's the greatest call in the world, Yeah. And I'm gonna do my first mocap. I'm sure your first mocap that you did, unbelievable, right?
I'm like, I gotta shave my beard? What? Yeah, okay, let's shave my beard.
It's a great treat for us to be able to make a living at this, and ultimately we're storytellers. Let me tell a story, and I'll be happy.
Well, no, I think that's an excellent note and an important note to leave off at for sure.
Yeah. And where does everybody find you? I see you're active on Instagram.
Yeah.
What?
My name, Richard Dorton, on Instagram. But my website for the mocap vaults, mocapvaults.com. If you want to come and train with me, I mean, we have schools in Canada. We have schools in London. All of our teachers, Sweden, Poland,
Montreal.
Yeah. Our job, we love what we do. We want to help train you and get you prepared, because when my name is on your resume, I take it very personally. I don't want a studio. You trained with Richard Dorton? Did he teach you this? They will come after me. So I have to be very, very try to cover it all. And I love sharing. I love it getting a text. Guess what I'm working on? I can't believe I got this. Or you watch a release of something. It's an incredible experience. But
and I can attest to the mocap vault classes because I took all of them. I even did the summit. And all of those skills have served me very well in the wild ride that I've been on.
Well, you will continue to work, and I hope to work with both of you in the volume soon.
Sounds wonderful.
Yeah. Thank you, Richard.